nobody knows what they're doing out there for the most part. Like a lot of us are just making it up as we go along. It's really just like those of us that are bold enough to just try it. Those are the people that are getting rewarded.
Hello, bold and beautiful people. Welcome to the Bravery Path, a show dedicated to guiding you on a kick-ass expedition towards a life of fearless authenticity, self-discovery, and boundless potential. I'm your host, Rachelle. Our topic today is crafting a career, the joyful pursuit of self-taught visual storytelling. I'm so excited to interview this guest. He's a good friend of mine, and he's the owner of Laxamana Media, a photo and video production company that specializes in capturing live branded experiences. He's a self-taught videographer and photographer whose clientele includes Nintendo, Bacardi, AWS, and Electronic Arts. With an upbeat attitude, boundless optimism, and a knack for making friends, seriously, wherever he goes, Chris brings a unique energy to every project he undertakes, capturing the essence of brands with creativity and flair. Welcome, Chris.
Wow. Wow. What an introduction. I'm doing great.
You always lift me up. I always feel upbeat.
It was a loss when you moved away from LA.
Yeah.
Huge, sad loss. It's not the same here with happy. But it's good to see you. It's good to see you. And I love your background there.
Thank you. Visualizing my new room space.
I love it. I love it. It looks beautiful.
Thank you. So I invited you here today because I love your story, and I think you're really gifted at what you do. And I've appreciated you've helped me on some of my projects graciously. I think you've got a lot to share. I've got a question.
Oh,
What
okay.
inspired you to pursue a career as a self-taught visual storyteller?
Mm.
How'd you get into this?
Yeah, so that's interesting. So I think what's nice about this is that it very much started off as a hobby. Like many people who move to LA, don't judge like right off the bat. I know probably a lot of you are in the same boat. I came to LA for acting originally.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't know. Did you know that about me? Yeah, surprised. I was a theater kid, always an extrovert. But what was nice about photography and videography was always just a passion of mine, always a hobby. My dad got me into it when I was a little kid because my dad always used to take pictures with his like film camera, his Canon camera. And he got me into video because we had one of those like old school, like Betamax cameras back in the day when people filmed on tape. And so what inspired me was there was like one moment where, do you remember the show I Dream of Jeannie or Bewitched?
yeah.
Remember that show? Yeah, yeah. So like where she'd wiggle her nose and
Yeah.
then something would appear or she would disappear.
You always
Yeah. Right. So my dad at one point set a camera on a tripod and showed me that trick. And he's okay, stand there. The camera's on the tripod. And he's okay, wiggle your nose. He'd stop the camera and then I would leave frame and then he'd start the camera and then I'd be gone. He played that back and it like blew my little mind at the time. I thought it was the coolest thing. It was like movie magic. And so, yeah, from there, yeah, I knew that I was definitely going to have a path in video production. I don't know if that was the answer you were looking for, but there's an answer for you.
Hey, we all start somewhere. And for sure, that's great that your dad was so supportive. And I've had friends share otherwise with backgrounds that they didn't have as much support. And did you ever have,
Yeah. Did I have Brett what?
was there, well, you got inspired, your dad showed it was a hobby. And then that's birthed this inspiration for you that later on you made the decision, hey, I want to turn this, you said acting. And then this turned into,
Oh, yeah, yeah. Because, yeah, I was always an extrovert. And I will say, in terms of background or in terms of have nots, I think that it was very fortunate that my dad did have a video camera, but for like context, like my mom, worked for the post office. My dad was a telephone operator or whatever. So it was like we would, nerd out over these things, but it's not my family like came from like this. I don't know. crazy, awesome, like Hollywood background or anything like that. I grew up in Seattle. But you were okay. So you were asking, you were saying, sorry, I feel like I
Yeah,
deviated.
no, it's talking about with support and just a lot of friends in LA when they moved there and they were just their parents wanted them to be doctors or go and do something safe, go and do something more predictable or reliable or something along those
Oh,
lines.
yeah.
And I wonder just because you're so creative and man, you've really solidified yourself in this skill set in this niche. And I'm wondering, learning more about your background, what was your experience? You shared a little bit, so your dad did, but was it always like that? Did they always say, "Hey, pursue this path," or was there
Oh,
pushback?
no. Yeah, of course. So my mom was very much, she wore the pants in the relationship. She was very much the person who raised me for the most part. And she's typical Asian mom, a lot of love, but also wanted me to become a doctor, wanted me to become an engineer, wanted if we were going to spend money on education, like it was going to be like for something that was going to have a good return. So it did take a little bit of convincing. So that wasn't the path that they put me on. But I think that they saw early on that I was really just a spaz and that I needed to direct my creative energy somewhere. And so they were like, yeah, this guy's not going to be an engineer or he's not going to be a doc. He needs to do something creative. So I think I felt very fortunate in the sense that I guess that they eventually, like they let me do my thing or my mom let me do my thing,
Was there a turning
you know?
point? Then, you started this as a hobby and then it evolved into so much more where you're having clientele like Nintendo and AWS, as we mentioned.
Mm.
And at what point was your mom, all right, no, this was what he was supposed to do. And I
Oh,
feel,
sure.
okay, I feel relieved. It's the truth.
Yeah. It all, I don't know. Okay. So it's interesting because one thing just leads to another. And so photography and videography were always a hobby of mine. And being in LA, it's like you had to do something to feed yourself while you're pursuing. You have to figure something out. So you're either, if you're pursuing acting in LA, you're going to do a couple things. You're going to either wait tables, okay? You're going to work in the service industry, or you're going to be a promo model. And are you familiar with Rachelle, like promo model work? It's like the equivalent of just like handing out free stuff on the street.
Oh,
Or yeah, or you could be like a liquor model. You could I found I one of my first jobs, they put me in a tight tangerine shirt, sent me into West Hollywood to hand out. Yeah, we're derailing. This conversation is
oh, sorry for going with flow, but I'm a little curious, right? It's your background. Go for it.
yeah, it's
What do you have to
background.
do
So, I mean,
to the top?
yeah, I would hand out like vodka samples. And okay, this is going somewhere. Just trust me, all right? In West Hollywood, okay. But one of my other jobs was I got hired to work for Nintendo at the time, being a brand ambassador for them. We would work in a mall, and you would teach families how to play games, and fed the extrovert in me. That was fun for me. And then I ended up managing one of those programs, and I was like, I'm going to create a video because watching all of these families bond over the Wii at the time, it was the Wii, like circa 2007, and watching these grandparents play with their kids. And normally grandparents don't play video games, but the Wii was like leveling this playing field. And I was like, there is something to capture here. And so instead of writing a report, I am going to film in my extra time, like while I'm off shift, like I'm going to film these families playing and bonding over the Wii. And I created this video and I sent it in to the marketing agency that I worked with at the time. They were like, holy crap. They're like, this is actually really good. We're going to send this to Nintendo. And Nintendo was like, holy crap, this is really good. And they were like, hey, can you make more of these videos? And I was like, yeah. And I'm like, can you pay me more? I was like, sure. I was like, I don't know, really, maybe a little bit of a raise. That would be cool. And I started making these videos for them. And eventually the marketing agency that I was working through was getting a lot of kind of success based off of these videos. So Nintendo asked them to create more videos for other programs. And they did, but they used their media arm. This like marketing agency used their media arm. And apparently they didn't do a good job. And Nintendo was like, get Chris Laxamana to do this. And then the agency came back to me and they said, hey, we need you to do more videos for Nintendo, but we need you to charge more because we make a percentage off of what you charge. And so you need to be charging a lot more. And I was like, that was, I don't know how romantic that is. By the way, I don't know if this is what you're going for. I don't know what stories you're hoping to get out of this, but it was, it really was. It
This
was
is a really cool just here because you had this. I think it's interesting. You're pursuing acting, right? So you were looking for this outlet with your creative energies and the joy,
yes.
like the fulfillment. And as creatives, man, I did so many different things in Los Angeles with the
Mhm.
goal. You have a clear goal. You think that's the clear goal, and other stuff is being burst at the same time, just out of a need you to sustain that, right? And then the path can start going this way. But how your dad
Yeah.
showed you with that hobby, and then you were there in that moment and had the vision and saw something different. This is so cool. This should be captured. And how you just
Yeah.
I love that you had the courage to just send something in versus overthinking, because a lot of people can get stuck
Sure.
in that and going, who am I? I just captured this and who's going to be interested in taking a look at this? But you had belief in that
Mhm.
it was worth looking at. And then it just
Yeah.
evolved into something
I,
more. That's what
I
I,
think that, thank you. I think that, okay, yeah, I have two thoughts like coming from the, like, your, so I think that it was, yes, it was a little bit more freeing in the moment because I knew at that point that I didn't feel like there was too much at stake. I knew that it was like my time that I invested into it. And I was like, okay, I can do this like fairly risk free. There was weight, which we can talk about later. It's okay once you're like really getting paid for it. Yes, there's like a weight that comes with that. But the other thing that you had talked about was like, okay, you had a passion for acting and you kind of switched gears or whatever. And I think that for me, I do run everything through the lens of, does this align with my goals? And is this truly something that is going to make me happy?
Mm,
And and that part of me that was like, that wanted to act, I had to be honest. I had to have this like conversation with myself and say, hey, or are you going to be satisfied? Are you taking the easy way out by taking like this path that's in front of you? And I had a good talk with myself and I pursued acting, I think for 2 years or 2 or 3 years in LA. And that was good for what it was. But ultimately I did feel like, okay, yeah, I actually am getting a lot of enjoyment and satisfaction out of creating these videos, like with these brands and at these events. And so, yeah, that was really fun for me. But that was that was the moment I think right there is when I knew, okay, well, there's an opportunity to keep doing this stuff and I don't necessarily have to wait tables or hand out stuff. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
um, but just you doing itself a check-in of the alignment and the fulfillment that it's bringing, because that is so key. Life is so short. I just think of when we're pursuing or running after something, whether we think that we're supposed to do it and that you just have the inner wisdom of, hey, is this truly something that brings me fulfillment? Do I want to do this? Do I want to wake up and put, do this where it could be potentially, you didn't get into it yet, but there's always, when we're as creatives, there's a vulnerability and wanting to make sure we're delivering
Mhm.
and bringing something of, hey, I'm passionate. I love this. Is this meeting, serving people at the highest level of what, and the exchange you said, you need to charge more. That was an interesting thing. Oh, okay. Yeah, I can charge more for sure. That's what creatives want to do. We want to also, of course, eat. And that's what life now. God forbid, never everyone.
It doesn't have to be one or the other. And I feel like a lot of times we really think that. We think, oh, if you're truly doing what you love in a creative sense, then it's like somehow for some people it feels wrong maybe to be making a ton. I think that some at some point that got into our heads. And so
There's a lot of that, doesn't it? Pay to play. There's so
yeah.
like the messaging that was, I was one of the, was fortunate that I did have a paid gig right out the gate when I got there, but so many artists and people did do short, almost felt like prostitution of, hey, I want to do this. And hey, well, you look at me, I will pay for you to come and see me try to bring to life this inner desire of my creative. Yeah. Self.
Yeah.
I did
That's the goal. Yeah.
for sure. I did answer the question. I was wondering about a pivotal moment of project. And so the sounds that more or less solidified your decision to pursue at a top level to your videography and pursue that path. So very cool. I'm wondering how do you navigate the challenges and self doubt that often comes with being self taught? Are there any specific strategies
Like imposter syndrome.
or mindset shifts that have helped
Yeah.
you overcome these obstacles?
Uh, Knowing that all of us have it brings me a little bit of comfort. Like all of us have that. All of us as artists, I think, will have that moment like where we feel like, yeah, like the imposter syndrome, where you're like, oh my gosh, do I deserve this? Am I? So I have two thoughts that bring me comfort. One is really, I feel like nobody knows what they're doing out there for the most part. Like a lot of us are just making it up as we go along. And it's really just like those of us that are bold enough to just try it. Those are the people that are getting rewarded. So like I always would see people at the top and be like, oh man, how did you know? How did you learn what you learned? You're paving new paths. And if you're paving a new path, like the whole purpose behind that is you have no idea what you're doing because it's a new path or it's like a new path for you. And I remember I had an aha moment sitting in on this marketing call with Virgin Mobile at the time. Back when Virgin Mobile was the thing, I got invited to film one of their music festivals. And because this is a whole other story. I was like on a Lady Gaga tour, which was super fun, which we should talk about later. But, and then Virgin Mobile had sponsored it and they invited me out. And anyways, so I was listening into this marketing call with them. And the spaghetti that they were throwing up against the proverbial wall in that meeting, some of the ideas that were being thrown out were so ridiculous. But it also was like, okay, so nobody knows what they're doing. These are all just like crazy, wild ideas. Some of them great, some of them terrible. But I was like, so from the top to the bottom, everyone I think is to a degree making it up as they go along. And
Mm,
so that made me feel better because there are definitely moments where I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, or I feel like I'm not qualified to be doing this. And so that gives me comfort. And then the other thing that gives me comfort is if you're getting hired to do a job and maybe you feel like you got away with charging more than you usually charge for it, right? And you're like, I don't deserve this or whatever. Just the sheer fact that you are making that money on that job, I feel should just tell you that you are worth it.
mm,
And does that make sense? And if you do it again and you manage to book another job at that rate, then yes, like you are worthy of that rate. Does that,
mhm.
I don't know if that answers the question that you were going at, but for me, what I would constantly feel like is I'm not worth it, or my work should be, I didn't feel like, I don't know, I could value my work at a certain level.
Mhm.
But I think
Yeah, the question
ultimately, if
was
that's what, yeah,
navigating the challenges of self doubt. I liked how your observation of being in these with kind of rooms or the settings and recognizing, hey, these people are at a higher level and they are not really fully sure of what they're doing. They're just throwing stuff out there, as you said, spaghetti against the wall, or hoping something sticks. And
yeah,
that we all, no matter what level, and I do hear that does give me comfort. And I have to remind almost as a mantra in when
mhm,
something new, everyone, even the greats at the top of the grade, you think the CEOs, biggest companies in the world, have experienced or do experience some of that chatter that will say, I don't think I should be I'm the expert in this field. How am I the expert in this field? Or how are people willing? Something along those lines of the self imposter, but just the comfort,
yeah,
realizing the big difference between the people who are getting these jobs and are making it ahead or success, as you say, of pursuing, is that they're actually having the courage to try. And it
you
might
could call it, yeah, call it whatever you want. You can call it courage, bravery. That makes sense for this, or you could call it like flat out audacity. You know what I mean? Because like, just, yeah, you're rewarded for that. And it's so hard because fear holds us back. And this is so much easier said than done to just overcome that and to give yourself permission to possibly fall on your face. I could afford to take that advice more because I think that's how you grow faster. What do they say? Fail forward? Is that
Yeah, I
right?
fell forward. And also, I like the one I heard. I can't remember where I heard it, but fear is the only thing that gets smaller as you run toward it.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, huge fans of that. But yeah, I think very seldom have I, have I not been rewarded in the long run for taking risks? Like in the short term, I think, yes, like you might have some failures, but overall, you're going to grow. Or if you're leaving a job and you're moving to a new job, more often than not, your next job is going to be better than your last, even though it's terrifying. You
Mm.
know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
How do you manage the balance between creativity?
So again, I think I will thank the duality of my parents' personalities for that. So I'll thank my mom for being as strict as she was on me growing up and instilling maybe a more structured kind of part of me. And then I'll thank my dad for being like more of a hippie creative guy that just goes with the flow and works off of feelings and all of that. The two of them were really very important. And so I think that balance is always really hard, but it is important because I think that you do need both, right? Unless you have a manager to worry about that stuff for you, to worry about the business stuff so that you can be a creative and just do whatever you want. I have friends that are like that, that are lucky enough to have a management company, their managers that just handle that for them. And so they can just be whoever they can just, yeah. So for me, I guess I do a terrible job of balancing it sometimes because it will be 9 to 5 will be business. And then 8 to 1 a.m. will be creative with a little bit of guilt with my girlfriend.
Oh,
Now and then, when I first started dating, I told her, I'm like, I will, and I have gotten better at it, by the way, but I'm like, this is going to be a challenge, like just in the sense that my work sometimes consumes me, but I've gotten better at that as I've gotten older. I think creating space for personal time, but the business, yes. So to go back on your question, the business and creative are hard to manage, but I don't know, but I think it's just they're all equally important. And I think that clear communication with your clients is everything. I don't, yeah, I don't know how far you want to get into that.
no, all good
Okay.
communication. So that's helpful. Just another reminder how important communication skills are imperative.
Everything breaks down. It's always because of communication. If something went wrong, or if you are in the creative field and you're delivering, whether it's videos, photos, design, music, or whatever, it's always, and something generally, if something goes wrong, it's just because the expectations weren't aligned on,
Mm,
and so much of that can be solved with just like making sure that you're communicating uh, with your client.
for sure. You mentioned something about a project, Lady Gaga. I don't know if that's what would align. Okay. So could you share some of your favorite projects and elaborate on
Oh,
what made them particularly meaningful or enjoyable for you?
so yeah, the Gaga tour circa 2012. Um,
Do
that
tell.
was like a treat. Yeah.
I just your body,
So
so I want to know. Tell me.
yeah. Okay. So this was actually a mesh because this is when I was doing both managing marketing tours to speak, like so to speak, and doing video at the same time. And so this was the Lady Gaga Monster Ball in 2012. And I forget how many cities, I think it was like 36 cities. And we got to ride. I was like the staff manager. I was managing like these Virgin Mobile Angels. Anyways, okay. So it was basically just touring around the country on this giant tour bus, this Lady Gaga like branded tour bus. And you would wake up at a venue every morning. You like wake up at 6 a.m., load in. You would manage the show. I managed the show with Virgin Mobile, but like just the energy around the love, like, I don't know if you've ever been to a Lady Gaga concert, but like all of her fans are like just full of so much love and like acceptance. And there's just like such a broad range of people at all of these things. And I would go in and I would both manage, but I would also film like all of the different personalities and all of the different people that were there. And it was just, I don't know, it was like this giant whirlwind tour. I made really good friends with Lady Gaga's like chef and her personal trainer and her dancers. I never got to meet Gaga herself, which was really sad. I had the opportunity, but I don't know why I shied away from it to begin with. And I like was going to do it. I know, my bad. Yeah. Anyway. And so for that, I got to make this like video montage of the little monsters for fans and these montages of her kind of taking a call with somebody in the audience at the show. And a lot of times it'd be like maybe somebody was who was gay, basically, but they were in the closet and Lady Gaga gave them the courage to come out of the closet and had this huge positive impact on their life. And so I created this like video montage and it was, yeah, it was really, I don't know, it was really emotional and it led to other work, which is great. But that was just an awesome tour to be a part of. Yeah.
Very cool.
Anywho, yeah. And yeah, I'm trying to think. I think just in general, I like just being around people. So getting that opportunity to film at music festivals when we had the parties, the client, that was really fun. Yeah, I wish I had something really specific for you, but
I just love seeing your
yeah.
adventures. You met or you're off somewhere and filming somewhere that seems super cool. And
Oh, yeah. So passion projects. Yeah, passion project. We did this thing. I don't know. Yeah, I could talk about this, but I feel like people will just be, I don't know, people will just judge because we got really lucky. And so we got really fortunate in the sense that we, through one of his friends that worked for United and one of my friends that ended up working for United, we got these passes where we could just go wherever we wanted in the world. I know that makes you immediately like hate me, but
no, it
right?
makes girl. Let's share connections. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, it lasted a year and
Oh
we
my
was like so incredibly lucky, so incredibly lucky. And so
I'm adding that
we're
much
like, we're going to make
visual
this
vision
travel
board.
show. Yeah. And so we're like, what are we going to do with this opportunity now that we can go wherever we want? And so we created this travel show where we would spin a wheel and three places would come up on a map and then the audience would vote and tell us where to go. We wouldn't know where we were going until we showed up at the airport and we would just fly to some place. Anyways,
You're
it was
describing
really cool.
something I really wanted to do. I missed out. I wanted to go to my girlfriends were a Europe trip, and I just had this idea of us standing in the airport. I think it was Ryanair, and then we just close our eyes and have a
Mm,
flight, and whatever it seemed like we're pointing, like that's where we're going today. Just have some spontaneity and adventure, not really knowing what fun was awaiting you on the other side. So it's pretty cool.
I feel like that's totally the dream to spin that globe. And then, oh,
Sounds like when you have the decision on what you're wanting, a lot of things do come into alignment and stuff starts to just,
mhm,
we've both had those experiences. Um,
yeah. Mm.
so how would you, everyone's different in how they answer this question, but I'm curious what your definition is. How would you define success?
Mm. I think that it's like whatever your version of happiness is, because really, I feel like that's what all that we strive for in life or all that we hope for in life is it's whatever our definition of happiness is. So however you define that for yourself, whether that is, okay, maybe success is, I don't know, a great job for you, or maybe it's having a family with kids in a house or whatever. I don't know. I think that that is. So I would define success, I think, is just happiness and shared moments with my friends and family. And then also the bonuses, we do our best to do what we love.
Mm,
And we can only really hope for that. And I feel like that's what separates, again, creatives and a lot of us. I still feel like you live in LA. So I'm just going to say, like, a lot of the people that live in LA is that we're not done dreaming. We're not done. Yeah, we're not done pursuing that, like this fire that we have within us. And so I guess happiness for me is yeah, is pursuing that, but then also with the intention of ultimately, am I happy? I'm checking back in with myself. Am I happy? Do I like the journey? Because you have to like the journey. So much of your life is the journey. And yeah, does that answer the question?
Yeah, of course. Everyone, there's not I think a
Yeah.
wrong or right answer. It's just individual. And I love everyone's different perspectives on that, just because there's often this, I think that whatever the tradition or the overarching idea of what success is. Success could be, oh, you have the mansion, you've got with the money, you've got this and this. And so, but that's not everybody's idea. And
Right.
that doesn't equate happiness from one person to the next.
I really think it, yeah, and truly it is what, because some people are totally happy also with that 9 to 5, right? Like they live, or it's okay. You could be a greeter at Walmart, but if you are truly enjoying, and if it is like feeding your soul to connect with these people all day and then to go home to your family or to go home to whoever, you are happy. I don't know. I feel like that's all that we can really ask for. Yeah. What about you? Can I ask you questions?
Yeah. Oh,
How
sure.
would you know?
I'm like, like, oh, the spotlight's on Chris. Okay, sure, go. Not nervous at all. I'm silly.
Yeah, no, yeah, I will. I want to know. You know what? Like, how do you define it? Like,
I have
how do you define success?
the pursuit of a worthy ideal or goal. And that could be like the definite purpose. If it's, let's say I wanted to be being a mother and that was the goal. And
Mhm,
it's like that was the desire. Being the best mother it possibly could be would be success. It could be a keynote speaker that's part of someone with a desire. So I'm working on, I love being on stage and I love working with people and being creative and sharing ideas and music with others to uplift them and empower them. So doing my best to show up and make sure every day is in alignment with I'm pursuing that worthy ideal because it's in alignment, something brings me joy and sharing that with
mhm.
people. If I am moving that needle, I'm continually in pursuit of doing the thing. I'm waking up every day doing the thing that I set intentionally to do, then that is success. If I'm finding myself in a position where I'm drifting away from it, it's an idea, but I'm not actively moving toward the thing, then I would consider that not in alignment with success. So success is no longer eating, oh, it's the big mansion, oh, it's the house, it's the fame. I used to think I had adopted or absorbed when I moved to Los Angeles, the old traditional sense of, okay, to be a successful musician, successful artist, performing artist, then it meant XYZ. And I had so much
Mhm.
internal conflict. And I was trying to heal that while I was there because when I asked myself deep down, do you really, doors were flying open. I had so many
Yeah.
opportunities. I just was walking away. I felt so conflicted in this limbo. And I didn't know what it was for a long time, that it was okay. On a deeper level, I was actually having a different definition of success and what resonated for happiness and what meant fulfillment for me. And it wasn't
Mhm.
one straight shot idea of what everyone else, well, a lot of other people, my family
Yeah.
thought it
It,
for me.
so this is awesome. So glad that I asked you because that's great. So for you, then, is it not so much about the end result, but it's more about that you are like that the way that you are, what am I trying to say? It's that you're properly pursuing it, that you're pursuing it with intention. If this is what, this is
Yeah.
your goal, that you are taking those steps to get there, but that you're truly like, you're being true to yourself, but you're actually like doing it.
You're an
And that
actual
is success.
person you're becoming along the way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have goals. I have goals that are with inside that and say success, but there's never an endpoint. And human beings are designed
Mhm,
to always be going, what's next? Right? You've probably experienced it.
mhm.
The Olympic athlete who decided, my success, I'll be successful when I win that gold medal. Maybe they get bronze. And then was that not worth
No, and then you
anything?
can't, yeah, you can't
And
ever,
and that
I think,
It could be traumatic for somebody if they think that their whole worth, their success is leading up to that one pinnacle, that one,
Right.
and there's nothing after
I
it.
think, yeah, I think Jim Carrey was like winning I don't know if it was like some award, like a Golden Globe or something. And he was like, yeah, and he was like, I was really hoping to, win this, whatever, this third award. And he goes, because then I would finally be enough. But he said it like as a joke. As in, if I just win this one award, then I would be enough. Like then things would be complete. But you're like, yeah, you're never complete. You're always growing. You're always
I
on
would
that.
challenge that. I would challenge that and say that we are complete in many ways. I believe that we have what we need all inside of.
Mm,
Is there potential there to grow and expand that? 100%. But that's part of the desire. Whenever we watch movies, we get excited about the journey, the hero's journey. It's always the same, right? And then they go off.
mm,
There often is the refusal of the call to go off and do something great, whether it's Frodo going from the Shire to go and put the ring into Mordor. Who am I? I am not that person to be able to go do that thing. Now let's just say we're just to stay in alignment with success in the pursuit. Often it's the growth when we look back on what we set as a goal, whether it's to be on that big stage or to close that big deal or to fill in the blank, what our definition of if it's a goal within success to feel successful. We look along that path and go, what are some of the biggest moments that brought us joy and happiness? Is often the growth of going, hey, I became that person. I pursued that goal and it's who I became in the pursuit.
yeah.
Hey, that brings me so much fulfillment for the growth that I experienced. So I am doing my best to make sure I am, checking in with myself with I've got my big goals, but to go, you are successful. You're successful because you are waking up with the purpose and the destination of, hey, I am going to pursue today with the best of my ability to be 1% better moving toward the thing and sharing my gifts at the highest level that I possibly can. Am I successful?
I,
Yes. And
I
sometimes
love
the old way starts to come and say, no, you haven't really achieved it. And we could just feel
that.
so empty.
What's really interesting, that is just such a nice way to look at it in terms of just being able to give yourself credit for where you are and what you're doing in the path that you are on. And I feel like though so much of it, if I'm being really honest, so much of what motivates me in my life sometimes is the feeling of not being enough, right? Which is crazy to think about. And so if there's a healthier way to look at that, but it's like this thing of you're like, I have to push harder. I have to be better. I have to, and a lot of that is the way that I feel like that I was raised, which is fine. And again, I'm not saying that this was a bad thing or whatever. This is just a
But
trait
I
like
just need
growing up.
a reframe because
Mm,
there's never ending opportunity for growth in the person of who when we arrive and we hit the goals, there is going to be the sense of if I was to say, okay, my goal, I'll be successful when I get nominated for Grammy. Okay, done. Do I feel successful? To celebrate the win? Yeah, absolutely. But
mm,
there's still this funny, intangible kind of sense of, well, what's next? And maybe now I just want to win the thing. Okay, maybe it's or being a creative, which can embody so much of just a life of growth and having goals along the way of being successful. Because any person I talk to who seems, how could they be unhappy? Look at what they've achieved. They haven't checked in with what their alignment, their definition of success and fulfillment. They can
sure.
be driven to always be up leveling, but not taking a pause and thinking, hey, well done. Look at what you've accomplished and you grew. Anyway,
Mm,
that's my
yeah.
thought on success. So
I
whoever needs
love
to
it.
hear that today, you are successful. So if you're waking up in the morning and pursuing the thing because you chose to do that intentionally, you are 100% successful. So take that one. I'm wondering what advice you would give to individuals who are self-taught or pursuing a non-traditional path in their career.
First off, I would say good on you for pursuing the path less traveled, for doing the non-traditional path. This kind of like echoes back to what you just said, which is basically, I think it depends on where you are in your journey. I would say, I think about actors and I think about cinematographers or people that are pursuing that. And I think that the hardest thing to do is just to get off your butt and do, and to find that energy. So that would be, I guess, my advice. Again, if you are further along in your path and it's already your business, then that wheel is already turning. But if you are, no, this is what I want to start doing, then it is. You just have to do it, and you have to find the time to do it after you are done with your regular 9 to 5 job. And it's not easy, you know? But for me, that would be, yeah, my personal advice is just to do it. And then this is more abstract, but I think that just to find honesty in the way that you communicate with people. And I just try to filter everything that I do as much as possible through this like lens of I want to be good to this person that I'm working with and the people that I work with. And I want to do my best to bring all of us up and to not hate on other people's success as well. Like when you see other people, I remember again pursuing acting, if my friends would hate on other people and be like, oh, how is this person or whatever. And I'm like, it's not feeding you. That's not doing any good for you. So I think just, yeah, being as honest as possible and as good as possible to the people that are around you, and then just continuing to
Do it
what you
now
love.
and have a servant heart and what you're
Wow.
doing, because what goes around comes
Hmm.
around. And I love that about you. It's like you've
Yeah.
always shown up with 100% of your heart, 110%. And that just permeates. And I think that's a huge testament as to why, aside from your skill set, but how you show up in the world is why you've grown so much and built such a great name for yourself in your industry. So I will definitely,
Thank you.
yeah, take that, do it now. There's no time to waste, and we make time for the things that are important to us. And if it's something that seems
Hmm.
so outlandish and crazy, then just start small, start somewhere, just do something, move the needle. What
Yeah.
could possibly
I
be?
love that. Hmm.
I love those two
Hmm.
things. Okay, I always love to ask this question. This has been so fun. Okay, what are your top 3 books or movies for inspiration? Wait, quick, it's okay. Read.
Man, I'm embarrassed because yeah, I really like I don't read like anywhere near as much as I should. So I'm glad that like you said movies as well, but yeah, that's really tough. Okay, so one book and it's not fiction. It's just like 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I feel like
Okay,
shaped me
Stephen
when
Covey?
I was younger. Stephen Covey.
And Stephen Covey.
Yeah. And I actually had the chance to like film that dude when he was at the Bellevue Convention Center in Seattle. Super cool guy. But yeah, his stuff about us having responsibility, like us being able to choose the way that we react to things, and that gap between stimulus and like response is what separates us from animals or whatever. That to me was really cool. And he also talks about like scarcity theory, I think, in the book, but it's basically just like operating from a sense of like abundance and not feeling like there's only a certain amount of jobs to go around, but helping everybody
Mm.
around you, expanding your circle of influence, that sort of thing. So really love that. Switching to movies. I wish I could say I'm like a super film buff that analyzes like cool movies. I don't know, but like Blade Runner, that Blade Runner with Ryan Gosling was pretty freaking sweet from a cinematic standpoint. Okay. From just an
Yep.
all-time
Checking your my main
favorite
like I
movie.
saw that film. Yeah, okay, continue.
It was Robert Deakins that filmed that. Okay. But also Princess Bride. Just a huge fan of Princess Bride. One of my all-time favorite Princess Bride.
Own it,
I
Princess.
know, but I just
Felt you retreating. It's a great lesson.
like, because it's not, it's anybody who's like really into films or into cinematography is like, oh, what's up with this guy? But no, it's just tell me that it's not an awesome movie.
I grew up on that film. It's like
Like, great. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Okay. That was 3. I'm all over the place. No,
it's totally perfect.
um,
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
This has brought me a lot of joy in my heart. I really enjoyed spending time and being able to face, and it'd be
Likewise.
the FaceTime hopefully will be in real time. I can come down to LA soon and visit, but this was the next best thing. So appreciate you coming on today. And
Absolutely. I appreciate you having me honored.
but
Yeah.
thank you for sharing your valuable insights. Is there like where can listeners find more information about you or connect with you, like with your work?
You can find my work on my website. It's laxamanamedia.com, Laxamana media.com. I'm on Instagram. I don't post as much as I should. Hey, at Chris Laxamana, just my name, CHRAS Laxamana. It'll be in the descriptions.
Yeah. I'll drop that down. Cool.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. But thank you so much. It's really good to see you, and I'm glad that we got to connect. And I really do feel honored that you reached out to me for this.
you. I hope you feel as inspired as I do. You've got some really cool stories there, Chris, and I think there's lots of nuggets of wisdom that have been dropped. So thanks for tuning in today for another episode of the Bravery Path, and I'll drop the information, the deets down below. Like, subscribe, and share, and to stay in the loop, and I'll see you next time. All right. Have a great rest of your day, guys.
Sounds good.